Welcome to day 2 of the Dada Digital Ladies Open, where we know that today there is going to be a cut to the top 50 and ties. So today, unfortunately, I woke up at 1:45 in the morning for my 7:50 a.m. tea time, so that's amazing. But honestly, I think that when you are playing a tournament, you don't even feel this kind of things because your body knows that you need to be in a certain mood or in a certain state. So yeah, even though I was tired, I definitely don't think that it is something that was on my mind at this moment in time. Just trying to play golf one hole at a time, one shot at a time, and hopefully come back with a decent score. So let's see how we play today. We are on the first hole, and this is the putt that we had for birdie, which unfortunately came up short, so we will have a tap-in par for that first hole. Not a bad way to start the round. Next up, we have this par 4, which I mentioned yesterday. You kind of need to favor the right side because it's a dogleg right, and yesterday I kind of pulled it a little bit too far left, so today I was trying to make sure that I hugged the right side of this fairway. I actually missed it a bit too far right of where I wanted to be. It was not in a bad position, though it was just slightly in the rough, which is not too bad of a position. It's just that the ball was quite severely above my feet, and the rough that I was in was cowgrass rough, so I didn't really know how it was going to react. So we ended up flying a bit more further than I was expecting it to, probably because of the rough, and so I left myself with this chip shot, which honestly wasn't easy. I think you can see that the ball is sitting down in the rough. So my main goal here was definitely to make good contact with the ball, because you can also see that the landing area where I need the ball to land is also all downhill. So this was definitely a very tricky chip shot, but we managed to pull it off very well and ended up making a par on the second hole as well. So the next hole that we have, this par 3. Today the pin position is front right. Yesterday it was front left. So today we're kind of playing towards the opposite side of the green, and because it is right, I know that I do need to play my draw more towards the center of the green because I don't want to miss this right, because that will definitely leave me short-sighted. So I ended up hitting a pretty decent shot, a little bit shorter than I would have liked to, but honestly, if I went too far past this hole, it would have definitely left me with a more difficult putt, so it was not too bad of a position to be at. Ended up leaving myself maybe about a 30-foot putt here. So the green speed today was 7.4, so it's a bit slower than it was yesterday, but I didn't expect this putt to be as slow as it ended up being, also probably because it was into the grain as well. So left myself with about a 3-footer for par, which we know on this golf course is not easy. So took my time there, marked the ball, make sure I fixed all the bumps along the way, and just tried to hit a good stroke here. So started off with 3 pars, so pretty happy with that. We move on to hole 4, where we're going again with a 3-wood. Just trying to hit it a little bit more center today, because yesterday I drew it a bit more, which left myself with a longer approach shot into this green. So aiming kind of down towards that electrical pole, and hit a good shot there, left myself on the fairway with about a 50-degree wedge to the pin. And surprise, here comes the rain. Suddenly it started pouring so badly. So this was the putt that I had. I did not make it. I just hit it a little bit short, which who knows, maybe if it wasn't raining it would have went in, but I mean, what can we do about that? So just a tap in par here, and look at the next hole where suddenly the rain disappears. It's crazy how fast the weather can change in Asia, and that's just something that I feel like we experience all the time. So anyway, move on to the next hole, this par 4. So today with the rain, I knew that my ball again was not going to run out of fairway, but I still wanted to try to keep this onto the right side of that slope, because one thing for sure is that you don't really get a lot of even lies out here, but obviously there's certain parts of the fairway that makes it easier to hit. Like you can see over here, I have a much more even lie on this right side of the fairway. So from here, I have just a short wedge into this green. Trying to be aggressive. I said yesterday that one of the things that I struggle with and that I need to work on is definitely hitting off these different slopes, because I definitely am aiming too much for my draw. So over here, I hit a pretty decent shot. Not as close as I would like it to be. This is definitely something that I'm going to be working on, just making sure that I think I'm getting my distance control pretty good with my wedges, but just need to make sure that my directional control is a little bit better. So thought I hit a good putt there, but it just broke really quickly, way more than I was expecting it to, but left myself with this tap in par. So on to the next hole. This is the long par 3 that we played yesterday. It's playing 178 today because the pin's in the center today. So it does play a little bit better for my draw. So there is a big slope on the right side that kicks everything left. I think you can definitely see it from this video here. So my target is definitely going to be towards the right side of this pin. Also, if you hit it at the pin, it's going to kick further left. So with my draw, definitely favoring the right side. I don't know if you can see it, but it's kicking down that right slope. It just carried a bit too far so went past the slope, but it's fine. I'm on the green, which on this hole I'm happy about. So we yesterday 3-putted this hole, making sure that I have better distance control here today. We are putting downhill, down green today, so it's not going to be as slow as it was yesterday, but I again left it short. So again, with a little bit of a tester here, another 3 foot left for par, making sure, I mean, all I can do is just try to hit a good stroke, because out here you don't know what the ball is going to be doing, especially because the greens are a little bit bumpy. Successfully managed to save the par there though, so we managed to move on to the next hole, still at even par. This par 4 yesterday we played it as well, but today we are kind of having a little bit better condition. It's not so windy today, so I expected to have a little bit of a shorter club into this green. So after hitting the fairway, we had 125 yards. The pin to me looked like it was in the center of the green, so I was trying to be quite aggressive with this, basically just kind of trying to go right at the pin. So hitting a full pitching wedge here, and I actually hit a really good shot right at the pin, so I thought that it would be a good result, but I ended up catching a slope. I don't think you can see it, but it is basically right now I'm like 40 feet past the hole, because I ended up catching that a bit too good and it caught the slope and went all the way to the back of the green. So I've got quite a tricky putt here, because it's going to be really slow, but once it's past the pin it's going to catch pace. So I made sure that I definitely hit that hard enough, but ended up leaving myself with about a 4-footer coming back up for par, which honestly it's better than leaving it short. So this was the putt that I had coming back. So really good save there, happy with that, happy with the 2-putt there. So we move on to the next par 5, which is a short par 5. Yesterday we aimed too far left, so today we're trying to be a bit more aggressive so that we have a chance to go for this green. So just trying to get this as far but also on the fairway, because yesterday we caught the rough, which really just kills your chance of going for the green. So for my second shot here, I was kind of in between distance because I had 210. So my 7 wood carries about 200. So I know that I need to catch this pretty good in order to get this on the green, because it is a front pin as well. I did not end up catching it good, so I knew that it was going to be short. But short on this green is definitely much better than over, because once you're over, you have a very tricky chip and most likely going to be a bad lie. So not too upset about this. A 33-yard chip here with a 58-degree wedge. So a great shot there and a pretty simple tap-in birdie on that hole. That just shows how important it is as well to know which part of the golf course to miss, because if you miss it on certain parts, it's going to be easier than if you miss it on other parts. So for that hole, short is definitely better than over. So next up we have hole 9, which is the par 4. And unfortunately, I'm about to slip really bad. So if you are wondering what's going to happen, just look at my right foot. So that was really quite unfortunate. We just got it under par and then we got ourselves in this really bad position, and honestly it's part of my swing because I get so much on my right foot and I push off so much of it that sometimes when the conditions are wet, that just happens. So yeah, I had no choice here, just kind of had to hit a punch out, get myself back on the fairway. So in addition to what just happened on the tee box, right now as you're about to see, a fly flew right into my eye on my backswing. So I don't really know if anything else can happen on this hole, but I guess, yeah, when you play in nature, there's just a lot of things that can happen and a lot of things that you cannot predict that's going to happen. So you just kind of have to go with the flow, I guess. So I hit a decent shot that gave myself a good chance here. It's about an 8-foot putt for par, so not too bad, at least giving myself a chance after the position that I was in. Unfortunately, as soon as I putted, I saw it just going the wrong direction, so didn't make it, but a tap-in bogey there to finish the front nine at even par. So we did successfully hit the fairway on 10, which is a pretty long par 4, so we still got a 5-iron left to a back pin. I decided to go with a 5-iron because I felt like with all the rain, it just kept raining on and off, that it was going to be pretty soft. But unfortunately, I think I just hit that way too good and flew the entire green. I don't know how that happened. So left myself over here, and I thought it was going to be a downhill downrange shape. So I thought that I could just run it out there, but as you can see, it went absolutely nowhere, so I was quite surprised by that. Was not expecting for it to slow down that quickly, so unfortunately left myself with a pretty long putt here for par. So as soon as I putted it, it kind of just bounced offline, so I knew it was not going in. So unfortunately, a bogey on this hole here. Not what we wanted and not how we wanted to start the back nine, but we are moving on to the next hole. We still have a chance here. This is a pretty short par 4, so we just need to make sure that we hit the fairway on this hole. So you obviously can't see it from this angle, but this green is pretty elevated and the pin today is on top of a slope. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to carry that slope, so I decided to go with the 9-iron, which should carry all the way to 130 yards, which should be enough to make it on top of the slope. And it was a pretty good contact. Unfortunately, I pushed it, so it went too far right. So I have about a 36-foot putt here. It's pin high, but very far right of the pin, so I do have an uphill into the green putt. So I knew that I had to hit this hard, and I was really trying to hit this hard, but you can see that it just took so many bounces on the way there that it just really did not have the speed to go there, and it still left me with like a 6-foot putt coming back for par. So when I was playing, obviously I felt like the ball was bouncing offline, but now that I'm watching it back on camera, I can also see that it's definitely bouncing offline. But then it definitely made me doubt a little bit that I was like maybe not taking enough break, because I kept leaving this short, especially like 6-foot putts low of the hole, and I wasn't sure if it was just breaking a lot or if it was bouncing offline, because it did feel like it was bouncing offline, but it was just very difficult to tell when you're just trying to hit a good stroke, but it just kept missing low. So yeah, anyway, we have 2 bogeys in a row at this point, which is not good. We have 7 holes to go. This is a par 5, so we're trying to make 1 back here. So even though we were trying to make a birdie, because we kind of needed 1 at this point, it didn't really seem like the right spot for me to try to be aggressive and go over the water to this green. So I decided to play the conservative route and go with a 5 hybrid, the same as I did on day 1, and just leave myself with some kind of wedge and try to stick that wedge close. So I ended up leaving myself with 103 yards, a 50-degree wedge. The pin was kind of above a slope, but I pretty much had the perfect distance just to hit my 50-degree wedge to this pin. So I hit a good shot that left myself with about a 4 or 5 feet downhill putt for birdie here. So this would definitely be a nice one to have, but again, I left it low, and this was where it was getting really frustrating, because I didn't know if it was me or if it was the greens at that point, because the 3rd hole of missing a short putt. So at this point, you really just have to stay in the process and really just focus on the next shot. I've got a par 3 here, and we did make a par after making 2 bogeys, so we just got to take the positives and move on and not try to force anything, because we've still got a few holes to play. So we've got this par 3, it's a front pin, hitting a 7-iron here. Hit a pretty decent shot there, leaving myself with a chance for birdie. Again, we just want to hit a good putt. We can't force it. It's not an easy putt for this one either, so Just trying to make sure that I hit a good putt. Unfortunately, didn't take enough break there. So at least I knew that that one, it just wasn't enough break, but it was a good stroke. So it's a step in the right direction and we just gotta keep moving on. So unfortunately, I think you can tell by my reaction, my ball did not end up in a good spot here. So I just am kind of in a weird lie where my ball is kind of in someone's old divot, but at the bottom it's all kind of mud. So I knew that contact was very, very important on this shot, just making sure that I catch the ball first and not dig my club too much into the ground, because I would probably get stuck in the divot and the ball is probably going to go nowhere. And as you can see, there's also a bunker. I mean, it's pretty short of the green, but with this odd lies, you just never know what's going to happen. So main focus here is just to make sure that I get good contact with the ball. So I think not only with the lie, but especially with the lie, that was a really, really good shot. So it would have been nice to hit a good putt here. We had a good look at birdie, but we left this part really, really short, and I don't know how that happened again. It was a downhill putt, and I don't know if the greens were also getting slower because of the rain and the stop. So this was definitely an important putt, especially because we missed so many of this already today. So this was a crucial putt, I feel like, during this round, just to make sure that I get a little bit of rhythm and a bit of confidence for those short putts again. So we successfully hit the fairway today, left ourselves with 125 yards. I was hitting a pitching wedge here, and I was just trying to carry this 120 yards because the pin was kind of over a slope. So I knew that if I landed it at that slope, it was going to be able to roll down to the pin. So I thought I hit a pretty decent shot there, but I ended up super short of the green. And I don't know at this point if I was just getting tired, but I don't know, I was making quite a lot of mistakes at this point, and this was quite a crucial part of the game, because I mean the cut at this point was the score that I was at, which was 3 over. So I knew that I needed to get my act together, and I actually almost chipped that in. So that was kind of a good boost there, just a little tap in par, and we move on to the next hole, which is a par 3. So this par 3 today, the pin was tucked to right, so we needed to make sure that we hit a good contact shot, because it was not going to be an easy pin to access. So par here would have been a good score. So you can see here, I definitely favored the big side of the green, but as we know, no putt here is easy. I had a long putt, so I really wanted to make sure I get it there, and I thought that I hit that so hard, but I just got the pace right. Just didn't have enough break on that putt, but honestly, I left myself with a 3-foot putt, which I really needed to make. So that was a good save on that par 3, especially with a long putt there, a good 2 putt. Hole 17, par 5, unfortunately did not get a good contact on that, which meant I was in the rough. So there was an overhanging tree and I was not in a good line of rough, so I kind of had no choice and just had to punch my 6-iron out of here. I left myself still in a decent position because this isn't a long par 5. I had about 124 yards. The pin was front and tucked left today, so I was just trying to hit kind of a standard knockdown 9-iron, but the wind was blowing right to left. And I don't know why, I was kind of thinking at this point that I don't want to aim too far right, because obviously that is my tendency. But also the pin was tucked left, and the one place that I shouldn't miss is left. And of course the one place that I missed was left, and you can see that this is just not a good position to be in. I hit a really good shot there considering the lie that I had, and everything was just downhill down green, but I still left myself with about a 8-footer putt for par, which I really needed at this point, because I knew that the cut was at 3 over and I really needed to make a par. So this was the putt that I had, and not an easy one, definitely uphill into the green, and I definitely did not want to leave that short. So very happy to have made that. That was a super clutch putt. And it's definitely a lot easier to hit down 18 knowing that you just need to make a par versus having to make a birdie. So some weeks you're really just trying to stay out there and try to make pars, and this was definitely one of those weeks because I had no idea what was going on at this point. I was just trying to get through the round. So I had 128 yards to the pin. I managed to hit the fairway, and yesterday I had 130 and I hit a pitching wedge. So I thought of just hitting the same exact shot that I hit because yesterday's shot was perfect, and I thought I hit it pretty decently, but I left it so short and I was kind of stunned at how short I left it. And I don't know at this point whether, again, like I said, I was just getting tired, but my ball just kept going short and not where I expected it to go. So I had a chip shot there, ended up leaving it about 2 feet, 3 feet short. So I had this 3-footer coming back up for par to hopefully make the cut, which we eventually did end up making the cut on the number at 3 over for 2 days. So yeah, so far it's been a pretty interesting week, but we've still got another day to fight, so I'll catch you in day 3.